You guys probably saw it already before me, but I found it now.
Personally, I'm not mature. For me personally, I'm not mature enough to have a divorce. I'm just not. I don't think I would ever be mature enough. I don't. Because when you have to start going in, breaking up assets.
Yeah.
That right there.
When you start having to divide things, separate, cut off.
Let me tell you, that's when the red table will turn upside down and it won't be red no more. This joke will be smashed in shambles. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I don't know. I actually think it takes more maturity to stay together and
define it.
All right, what do you guys think about that? Before we continue here, let's get into that story now. So she said she was too immature. Jada said she was too immature to file for divorce. And then the mother was saying, I would think that it's actually take more maturity to stay together. Does it take more maturity to stay together? It takes more maturity to stay together. True or false? Put a true in the chat if you think it's true that it takes more maturity to stay together, or it takes more maturity to leave. Because Jada is saying, I don't have the maturity level to leave, and she's still talking. Shout out to Shopper Helper, I see you. She seems like I'm following a different page on IG, or maybe my page is Man of Prestige __. But let me keep playing this. Hold on 1 second. There you go.
But that's a maturity I do have.
Yeah.
You understand? Like,
Hello,
I
Juliet.
know what I can do and I know what I can't. I actually have more maturity to figure it out within and work with what I got. I've seen people try to have some of the most friendly divorces, and it just, at some point,
it's still painful.
It's still painful.
It's still painful.
She was like, well, why don't y'all just divorce? One of the ideas for me is that we've built such a beautiful community. We've built such a beautiful family. And
somebody said, you built such a beautiful family, but you must stay together. What do you mean?
our survival, we do well together. And then breaking that group and community up for me, it's just never an option. I was just like,
Never an option.
no subtraction.
Right.
And if you need to add, go right ahead. But I don't see the necessity.
Subtraction. That's a good point. Because
For me personally, I'm
Right.
not mature enough to have a divorce.
I'm not mature enough to have a divorce. Let me look at some of these comments. Somebody said at the end of the day, neither of them will leave each other. So let's just stay out of rich folks' business. All right. Somebody said basically she's in love with the lifestyle and not him. Jesus Christ. She said family and community will build together. Okay, but let's continue. You know, social media have their own brain. So if you really love someone, you can't stand the thought of them with someone else. So if that doesn't pain her to have people into the relationship, but dividing the assets does, that's not maturity, that's toxic. She literally just said that. But as you can see, semantics is one of the issues on social media. You know, if I use your English and I agree with you, you go still get problem with them. Anyway, free that man. Somebody said free that man. Miss Jada, for that matter, said free that man. So I'm not sure she thinks before talking. Actually, there's a lot of things that they said. I think there's a lot of lessons we can get out of it. But obviously, how you apply it to your personal life will vary from people to people. But there's a lot of wisdom in what every one of them just said. So y'all must have forgotten Will had many indiscretions at the beginning of their marriage years ago. Selective outrage. Also, Will is not a hostage. You see, the thing is that men, according to our society, they're allowed to move mad a little bit. As long as, you know, even bring a baby home sometimes. Women will allow men to get away with that before they allow a woman to do that. That's the society we live in, right? Is it unfair? Yes. Is it double standard? Yes. Should it be that way? No. Is it that way? Yes. Will is a willing participant, considering he can still divorce her regardless of what she's saying. Absolutely. He can divorce. But you know, women, if you allow women, men are the victims. Listen to what I just said. If you allow women long enough, men will become the victims, which doesn't help us men, because we actually can't afford to buy into that. We can't, because that's not the reality. We can't play the victim as men, okay? The outcome of that is terrible, it's bad. It's not the good that comes out of a man playing a victim, Okay, it's not good for him. It's not good for his family. It's not good for the community he's building. But that's why I laugh sometimes when let's just keep it moving. So, it makes it more difficult to divorce, but it can happen. All right, somebody says, so pretty much it's just a marriage of convenience and not love. Poor Will Smith. That's a way to oversimplify what they're saying. Let's see what they're saying again.
I'm just not. I don't think I would ever be mature enough. I don't. Because
Why?
when you have to start going in, breaking up assets.
Yeah.
She said, well, you have to go in and break up assets and all that kind of stuff. All that. The point she's making is that divorce is harder than actually the work that we ask people to do inside of marriage, oftentimes. That's the point that she's making. Okay. Now you can look at what we know about them, the August, Asina, and all that kind of stuff, and then you can make it about that. You'll be right. But I think if we remove that, I think a lot of times marriage, right? The work that we ask people to do on their marriage is actually easier than the work they have to do. Okay, it's usually easier, not always. Some people don't need to be inside of a marriage, but it's usually easier. And yes, I'm using the word usually intentionally, okay? Because honestly, what we're running away from is inevitable in life. It doesn't matter if you're inside a marriage or not. It's called conflict. And when it happens, do you know what to do with yourself and your relationship? Most people don't, okay? In fact, a lot of people's natural reaction to conflict is to run, flight, run away from the situation, hide in a corner, right? Have you ever done the assessment to know if that's your personality, if that's part of who you are as your temperament? No. But you know what? It's easier to point fingers and just run away from my problems. The problem is my problems follow me everywhere I go. It's like my shadow everywhere I go. That's really what they're saying. So she's saying that dividing all this work, dividing the family community is actually a difficult thing. Can we argue with that? We can't argue with that unless we want to make it about August Asina. Well, isn't it better to divorce than to go and sleep with August Asina? Not necessarily. I know. Remember today we're talking about cheating a little bit. Okay? Not necessarily. Sometimes it's actually easier to cheat. Sometimes it's easier to do the wrong thing. See? Wrong, but it's easier because you're hoping it's just a quick fix. It will go away. You're hoping it's just indulging small. Sometimes it's easier to go and eat that ice cream at 2 a.m. in the middle of the night than to wait it out that night, drink some water, eat groundnut, and wake up and go to the gym. Is it not easier sometimes? Sometimes it's easier to cheat on yourself. How much more another human being?
That right there.
When you start having to divide things, separate, cut off.
Let me tell you, that's when the red table turned upside down.
So they're also talking about how it is not easy to be going through a bitter, painful divorce with another person and not see them as your enemy. Right? Because at the very minimum, one person is hurt. At least one person is super hurt that your loyalty is not what they thought it was. Yes, you have your reasons why you're leaving, but they are hoping that we can walk through this. And you've said, I'm out. Or flip it on the end, right? You can't handle being with this person for the rest of your life. It's unfair to you. It's punishment for you. You don't get to enjoy your life. So you want to leave. So you are expecting them to be gentle with you and just accept their fate and just move on. And then they are looking at, are you mad? Like, I'm going to drag you in this courts. But you'll be dragging our children too. No. I'm going to drag you in this courts. Right? I'll drag you with alimony. I will drag you with child support. I will drag you with everything I can find. No, it's not really me dragging you. Actually, I would just rather walk away. But my lawyer saw that you were hiding some money. My lawyer noticed that you've cheated me out of the last 5 years of my life. And what I'm about to do is unfair to me and my children. So my lawyer advised me that I must drag you with the. No. They didn't use that language. They just said, don't be unfair to yourself, right? So the lawyers kind of take control of the conversation. And then you sleep over it and you're like, I don't really want the drama. I just want the divorce and be moved. And the lawyer said, yes, I know, but don't worry, we'll handle the rest. The lawyer is looking at your husband, your ex-husband's money, and he said, all that money, let's stretch this out. See, there's a lot that goes into it at this point. It's probably a lot more difficult than conflict handling, than doing work on yourself first before you even try to worry about conflict handling. But you won't see that up front, because guess what? It's easier to run away. The maturity, right? The maturity. Which maturity are we talking about? To leave or to stay? Which one? Now there's confusion.
And it won't be red no more. This joke will be smashed in shambles. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I don't know. I actually think it takes more maturity to stay together and
She said it takes more maturity to stay together. And Tony Braxton is there like, wait, I've done it a couple of by the way, Tony Braxton was married last year. She filed for divorce 2 weeks later, but they're still together. She withdrew the petition, the marriage. So she's now officially, according to reports, married to what's his name? Birdman. All right. Let me finish up the story so we can move on.
Define it.
redefine.
But that's a maturity I do have.
She said that's the maturity I do have to stay together. Now, it does sound a little funny when we think about August Alsina. What do you think at this point? Just, I think there's a lot of lessons there, Sha. Movie says toxicity, toxicology, toxic. Because that's the question that I'm asking on the thumbnail, as a matter of fact. Toxic love? Right? True. Somebody said true. The real question I want to ask you, do you have enough maturity to do self-work that you need before you worry about the marriage, before you worry about the relationship? One of the hardest things for human beings to do is to do the self-work. And there's about 2,000 different excuses that we have that we're not just going to do the work necessary on ourselves. And they're all legit excuses, by the way. They're all valid excuses. Okay, but that's my question for you. Which side are you on here? Is this toxic love? Is this toxicity? So that's my question for you. Without any further ado, we're just going to move on to the other stories. I'll be right back.
Girl, it's your love that I've been missing. I miss all your hugs, your touching and kissing. Me love on the floor, the couch in the kitchen. One love enough, we done enough.